Hello and welcome to everyone joining us for the 14th episode of JaaTaa. Ramadan Kareem to everyone celebrating. We have here with us today Fardin Kibriya and Sabir Hassan Sagor, as always. So,
For a
Fardin.
change, we can actually see Shagor because he's not in a dark background. And we're recording this earlier than usual, so more than hours. But yeah,
Disappointing series loss for Bangladesh.
man, talk about succumbing to pressure. I think that's been our theme for years and years and years, and 24 years into being a full member nation, nothing has changed. Unfortunately, we're still succumbing to pressure. Not the ideal way to start the year off in terms of international cricket either. So yeah, Shagar, thoughts?
Yeah, at least it was not a humiliating loss as it was looking at one point. Rishad
Yeah,
saving the
Rishad
day.
Hassan saved the day.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, it feels bitter when we lose to Sri Lanka nowadays.
Mhm. Why?
Safe to
Because
say we
too
lost
many
to
time
one man,
downs.
basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair. Honestly, I think the demons from our pre-game life came back to haunt us because we were talking about how Bangladesh is gonna see a guy bowling round arm again, and they might, lose it. And then it's funny enough, guy goes on to take a hat trick, and we're 15 for four. Not really ideal. Yeah, I think Bangladesh restricted them to a good total that they should have chased 100%, but as it is with our current batting lineup, is not reliable at all, unfortunately, and these are the things that you come up with when you have a very faltering batting lineup.
Shagor, before we get more into the batting and how the top order has been letting the team down from time to time, another man who's been letting the team down, unfortunately, is Mustafizur Rahman.
Oh
The
yeah,
phase.
The
the
Fizz
the
easily
field.
made a 10 to 15 run difference at the end, basically.
Phase has been looking out of touch for a long time. He produces that nice, like, good delivery, you know, fizzing delivery once in a while, but that's like once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
The phase of old has gone. Like we don't see him anymore. So I don't see any point of him being an automatic choice at this point. But for some reason, the selectors are persisting with him. I don't know for what. Maybe because he's a left arm fast, slow spinner or something. Because neither does he have pace nor he has other things. Like he doesn't have that variations at this point that he used to showcase, and he's not effective, right? Even at home, he's not being effective. So God knows what he'll be on flat decks.
And I think they need to stop validating, oh, he bowls the tough overs. Well, that's your role. And you going for 80 plus runs in the death in a three-match series is not excusable. Like, it doesn't matter how many tough overs. You might have one bad game, but that doesn't mean you go for 40 plus runs every game. Who are the type of players we see going for 40 plus runs every game? People who are not reliable, people who are not first choice, people who will come in for an odd game here and there, just have a really bad game and probably not play similar to what happened to Umran Malik going for 50 runs and over. Or you can think of like O'Shane Thomas or some of these guys who were, outright pace. But batters these days just sit deep in the crease and they're waiting for that delivery, right? Almost like I heard Mark Butcher say the other day is batters these days sit so far deep in the crease, they just wait for that delivery that is gonna be not Mark Butcher, Scotty Stevenson during the New Zealand and South Australia series. You just wait high for that short delivery, or in Mustafiz's case, you just wait low for a slower delivery or a Yorker or whatever it is. And if he changes it up, you just react to it quickly. But you just predict what he's gonna bowl 10 out of 10 deliveries, and it's not ideal to have that because we're looking at guys like Nathan Ellis who are coming from really unusual conditions, unusual situations who are bowling much better at the death now than Mustafiz.
What about the other bowlers? Shoiful had a pretty good game. He's had two back-to-back good games now. Taskin had a pretty good game himself, and he actually looked decent at the death for once, which was pretty impressive. All in all, these things could be a positive for Bangladesh, including Mahdi and Rishad as well.
Yeah, I think with like Chagar, you can chip in. I think with Shoriful, the thing is these days we've been seeing a lot of consistency from him, a lot of promise, a lot of dependency factor has come in for the skippers where they can, go back to him at any stage of the game. And he's essentially that leader of the pack now, which, funny enough, should have been Taskin actually. But much like his career, it never really turned out that way. But yeah, like you said with Taskin, I think he's had a good game here. It's going to be important to see how many he can put together in a row because going into a World Cup year or going into future series, we need guys to put up games in a row, not guys to have a one odd game here and there, right? So, um, and yeah, I guess Shagor's thoughts on spinners.
Yeah, I think Mahedi looked decent as he does usually, but then Rishad, I like it was good to see him getting a longer rope than our other leg spinners have had in the past.
Hmm.
And I think he's, even though I know he's gone for like 35, 38 runs per match, something like that, but he's showcasing that he has the ability to take wickets in the tough overs.
Yeah.
And then also with his batting, it's a very rare breed that we've gotten a leg spinning all rounder who can hit big. So I'm really excited about this prospect.
And fields well,
Yeah,
right?
young guy gives
So
this all on the field.
yeah.
So yeah, if he's given a chance in the World Cup to play, it will be very exciting to see how he goes about it.
But any chance of him still feeling undercooked come June?
Um, you could make a case for that. I think the thing is he hasn't played as much outside Bangladesh, which is tough, obviously always, because home crowd and overseas crowd is two different things. There's a different pressure there. Um, but I think with Bangladesh, they'll need to kind of expose him to overseas conditions as much as possible. I think we have one series outside Bangladesh or two series outside Bangladesh after this, or maybe one.
The next one should be in Bangladesh, though. The
Next
one
one
in
is in
Zimbabwe,
Bangladesh. Yeah, so I think there's only one series. The talks of
USA
that
one.
USA series, which can be outside Bangladesh, right? And then the other one is for him. I think imposter syndrome is pretty real in his situation because you could get hit for one or two boundaries here and there, and he could feel like he's not really doing it. But I think, like Shagor said, for him, we kind of have to expect or accept, in a sense, that he might go for 30, 35 runs or in some games, but he might actually get you two wickets, either with the ball or maybe in the field. So that's kind of the risk factor that you have to accept, I think. What do you guys think?
Rex.
No, I
Right.
mean, we've been looking for a leg spinner, and we sort of had to bring Rishad in earlier than he was ready, earlier than we would have liked to. But at
Ideally,
this
we
point,
had to because they don't let him play domestic cricket.
they don't.
So,
They don't.
so
It's just absurd. I mean,
yeah.
there's
I remember,
also,
like last year, even DPL, he was barely playing. Like, how does that make sense?
and then he was still brought into the New Zealand series
New Zealand.
last second,
Yeah.
in contention for the World Cup and everything. Like, what's going on?
Oh,
The whole point is we really don't know how to nurture leg spinners, and it has to start somewhere. That's why a lot of advocates for leg spinners have just wanted Rishad to stay in the team regardless of what happens, because the more we play these leg spinners, the more we'll be normalized with the idea of having them as part of our domestic structure, which, if you think about it, makes no sense. How is
Yeah.
The domestic structure is supposed to influence the international team, not vice
Yeah.
versa.
No. Yeah.
But what else can we
No.
say?
I mean, I went to watch Abuani game last year, and he was just running the drinks. That's it, right? Like his first game
And this is after
in
his international debut.
yes, and his first game in DPL 2023 was April, mid-April, which means it was way into the tournament already because the tournament started mid-March, I think, and then there was that Eid break. So right before Eid break, I think he played a couple of games or one game before Eid break, and then that's it. Like he's played a total of like five list day games, which might actually include like three ODIs. So like it doesn't help because imagine we had imagine Shakib had to play international cricket on the basis of like one list day game. Like Shakib, Tamim, Mushfiq, they all learned cricket or they got better at cricket playing international cricket, but they did have that kind of a base that came through the NCL, DPL, um, under 19, where they got to play a few games. Risha didn't even get to play under 19 games like that either. So it's not ideal. And that's kind of how we lost Aminul Biplab too. So
Sure. I'm glad Farzin brought up this Aminul Biplab topic because you were mentioning how Rishad is molding into this proper bowling all rounder, but we pretty much lost Aminul Islam Biplab to his batting in a sense that he started focusing entirely on his batting. I'm not saying that's what's happening with Rishad, but is that also not a cause of worry for Bangladesh, where when you don't know how to nurture leg spinners, they just pretty much becomes batters or batting all rounders, sort of trying to be that Steve Smith mold of cricketer, which we can't produce realistically.
Yeah, but the difference here, I think, is that Biplov came down way later in the order, and also he didn't showcase the. I mean, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that if Rishad is not like performing well with the ball, then expectations would be that he can contribute well with the bat, even though that's not his primary skill. Yeah, that could be a case, but then again, the amount of faith that's being shown to Rishad, I think it's, and also with the new captain and management, we have to say that I I'm optimistic that that won't be the case as it was with the previous leg spinners like Biplov. So yeah, I think the batting is a bonus with Rishad, but the team has identified that he is a leg spinner at first, and they are trying to give him chances, even though it's been too late. Like because World Cup is coming, it's around the corner, so he is a bit undercooked to answer your first question. But it is what it is. We have to get someone in, and then he has shown that he has the potential to be in the squad.
Taking nothing away from Nuwan Thushara, he bowled beautifully, but the top order, all going all the way down to the middle order and Mahmudullah Riyad, everyone looking so vulnerable just to that slinging action, just to that bit of swing. I mean,
two of the three guys didn't even offer a shot. That's the first point, right? Initially, I thought he was bowling 140 plus, which is why maybe they were beaten for pace. But then he was bowling 133. And if you're expecting a guy, say, if I'm releasing from here, it is bound to bounce more than if I'm releasing from here, right? Like, if that concept is not already in your head when you're a top order batter, that is very hard to, like, say you go to a World Cup game and Bangladesh, or say we're facing USA in that series. Bangladesh players have never faced Ali Khan. Ali Khan's both slingers at 140. Are you gonna give him wickets like this because you can't already read 140? You can't read slingers, and now he's bowling 10 Ks quicker.
One more hat trick coming.
I hope not, because that's just gonna look stupid and foolish. And but this is the thing that I feel like our batters, the way they train, or maybe the way our system is designed to prepare batters, they don't take all kind of situations into account. We knew as soon as Patirana was out, we knew Thushara was gonna come in. It was a no-brainer, right? Like, we even posted it on our page that Patirana's out, Thushara's most likely 90% sure gonna play. If we know that, you should be knowing that. And even Mahmudullah, the LBW, he didn't really offer a shot because he tried to stop the ball with his pads from hitting the stump essentially, and thought he could get away with it, but it didn't work because they misread the swing and the angle completely. So I don't know. The bowler was exceptional, but you can see there are a lot of lackings in terms of our batters. And then, like, yo, imagine, yo, Shagor, tell me, tell me this. Imagine some guy gets you bowled where you haven't even offered a shot, and the first thing on your mind is to like charge at him. Like, yo, like how, bro? I would be embarrassed just walking straight. Like, bro, forget this. Like, I haven't even offered a shot, and I look like I was overbalancing because my whole bat's going across the pitch.
Just stupid.
It's pathetic. And then you get a 50% fine. Like, obviously,
All of Thushara's wickets, 4 of the 5 were bowls and LBW.
yeah,
Crazy.
crazy. Basically, you had no response to it. Like, you couldn't even get bat onto it, right? Like, I don't know, Rakimul, like, Bangladesh top order. What are your thoughts?
I
Because
mean,
when we say it, people are like, no, we're too negative. Like,
disappointed but not surprised, first of all. Any unorthodox action seems to trouble them. But I think the most disappointing, we could also say, and somehow he's evading some of the criticisms, and that is Liton Das. And the
hmm,
way he got out, that
hmm,
first ball from Dhananjaya De Silva, he had
yeah,
no reason to attempt that shot.
no, no,
Absolutely no
nothing.
reason.
Absolutely. No.
At least see off one or two deliveries from the off spinner. You haven't faced the off spinner today. Come on, man. I
Not,
don't know why he saw
not
that whole
even,
situation.
not even seeing off.
No, no, no.
Shot selection is just absurd. Especially, like, I don't even know. I have to, like, the fact that I even have to explain this at that angle when the ball is drifting away. Even if it's an off spinner, it's a new ball. It's drifting away, right? Like, it's not rocket science, and you're trying to play with an open face across the line. Like, what is gonna happen? What do you think is going to happen?
And what I don't understand is he had this trigger movement against Angela Matthews from the very first T20I where he's
Oh
just
yeah,
going across the stumps. I,
yeah.
I mean, while I can't completely make sense out of that, at least that's the plan he has against Matthews. Why is he trying to execute the same plan against Dhananjaya De Silva, a completely different bowler? Even against Thikshan, I would understand, but against Dhananjaya makes absolutely zero
Yeah,
sense.
for someone who's as strong technically and who has such a good offside game, I don't know why he's trying to hike on the leg side and make
Yeah,
to
yeah. He's trying
go
to send
across. Yeah,
everything there.
everything
Yeah,
leg side, right?
yeah,
Square on the leg
yeah,
side.
yeah,
He can just cut that ball or ramp it or like try some audacious shots on the offside where it's more likely he can pull it off
yeah,
with the field up.
yeah.
Crazy.
Shomu and Shanto, thoughts on their not so long innings?
Tell me, Shagor. Tell me, please tell me, because
Shomo
I just can't.
after that New Zealand innings, he has become the Shomo we know of. So
Nothing has changed.
yeah, so
That's all. That's all I can say.
I'm not
Nothing
sure
has.
how that's helping or not helping because I don't think we changed any of our batters in this series, right? Like we
No,
kept the same top
we
four,
get
top
the
five.
top for. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was no change.
So with not much cricket happening before the World Cup, like T20 internationals, I'm not sure how others are going to stake a claim if they're not given any chances and Shomo keeps underperforming. Maybe he's in the squad for his all-round abilities. Other than that, as an opener, he's not been up to standard. That's the
Here,
reality.
here's the thing with Liton and Shomo. Like 10 years later, if you still haven't figured out what is your game, how do you contribute into this structure? How do you contribute into this team? Like he had this whole plan, right? What's his name? Like you said, Liton. He had this whole plan where he's trying to go around across the wicket and he's trying to play Matthews across. The first delivery in the 30-20, Matthews bowled, was not an outswinger but actually an in swinger. And if SIS was the umpire, I think if he gave it out, it would have stayed as out because like he was actually hitting pretty nicely,
Yeah,
like
top of middle and leg proper.
like top of middle and leg. Like it's umpire's call because of the 50% thing, but like that thing was hitting pretty well. So his own plan would have just flopped on him because he's doing that to counter that outside movement, but Matthews has outsmarted him with the ball coming in. Shommo Thushara, he knows Thushara is swinging it away from the right hander, which means it's coming into him. And he plays the most atrocious, flashy shot. Ball goes between bat and pad. Bold. I don't even remember how many times I've seen Shomo get out the same way in across formats. So if you're getting out of the same way, the same system, like it's telling me USA has not played a game for like 2 years or maybe a year and a half. And USA just needs to look at this one clip of this one test on one T20 against Bangladesh, this series, and they can have a plan for June. And that is not that ideal situation to be in going into a World Cup. Because South Africa is gonna come hard, Sri Lanka is gonna come hard, Netherlands is freaking in South Africa playing against first class teams. Like everyone's preparing in their own way. Netherlands is playing World Cricket League too. You can't get away like Shagor. Shagor and I saw the games that were happening. Rakimul, you probably also saw the games happening in Nepal between Nepal, UAE, Scotland, Canada. Good quality games. People, young players with plans, with ideas on what to do. Like mediocrity, unfortunately, you're not going to get away with a lot of things. And it seems like we have given this free rope to Liton and Shomo for years. And funny enough, if we post them getting out and stuff, people in the comments are like, oh, who are you going to replace him with?
So is Shakib sort of coming in as a weird like for Shomo in that sense? Because Shomo is technically playing in that all-rounders role up the order.
Yeah, I mean, he bowls one over a game. So I don't know what basis they're trying to explain there, but yeah, I mean, when Shakib's available, essentially he walks into a 3 or a 4. He's gonna bat at 3 probably. So
Chanto open
Shomo,
maybe?
Shanto open, maybe Liton Dash, Shanto open, Shakib at 3, Tohid Hridoy at 4,
Mama,
Mahmudullah, Jakir Ronik.
so Zakir is fixed.
Well, it's not fixed. I would
Fixed.
you have to give him that chance, right? Like he's he's basically brought you a game home from nowhere, and he's batted twice in T20s right now. So I mean, he's batted like 5 times, but
Not counting Asian games
not
for now.
including Asian games. He's batted like twice. So you have to give him a chance to essentially lose his place. So as long as he keeps doing what he's doing. And like we said, I mean, this is known across the world as a finisher. You're gonna have more failures than success, but the days you have a good start, you have to finish the game for your team.
Thoughts on bringing Miraj back in because we could use the batting depth and won't need as many overs out of him once Shakib returns.
Bat at five,
Why not bat at seven?
yeah,
Just
bat at seven, could do it,
do
could
what's
do it,
natural for him.
could do it. I don't know. Uh, I
Miraj
mean,
to plug in the batting.
well,
He's gonna give you like at least a couple of overs most days.
Mm. Miraj and Mahadi, isn't it
it
more
does the
one
same
dimensional?
role. It does the same role, but
But you're
then
you're not gonna play them both together. That's the point. Like it's you're most likely gonna play Miraj, Rishad, and Shakib together, and Mahadi's gonna be in the bench. He's still gonna
but
be
Mm.
then
around,
I think I
but
think
most likely.
I think if they want that versatile option, that if there is a pitch or if there is a batter out there that is a good matchup for Sheikh Mahdi, they might open with Mahdi in the power play, and you have that option with Mahdi, but with Miraj you don't necessarily have that option because he will only be able to bowl once the ball is a little bit older. So I think right now, in terms of T20 structure, I would say Mahdi is a more confirmed pick than Miraj, and that's okay. I feel like we've said before, you don't have to be a three format player. Like I think for Miraj's case, Test and ODIs is probably where it's at. He just needs to improve his bowling skill for T20s because people are coming hard at you from ball one. And if Dhananjay De Silva can do it, why can't he? Like,
Rishad and
but
Taskin say, were sort of the saving grace for Bangladesh. I mean, they're the reason Bangladesh weren't handed an emphatic 100-run defeat. But was it not to take anything away from them, but was it also due to the fact that the Sri Lankan bowlers and fielders got a little complacent, given that they
like
had
the
the game in the bag?
Mahmudullah 100 at the World Cup.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a case of you can't, like, once you've taken 6 wickets or 7 wickets, you kind of like, they can't get to it anymore, right? Like, it has to be a Maxwell miracle kind of a situation. But take nothing away from Rishad. I think he showed his skills very well. We saw it in New Zealand in that practice game where he scored 82 or something. So his ability with the bat is definitely there. Um, but I think, like Shagor said, it wouldn't be right for us to say that, if you have another collapse, that you hope on and you bank on Rishad to get you the runs. Like, he's a leggy first of all, and then if he gives you anything with the bat, he'll give it to you. But you can't expect that every day of the week. Uh, I guess the other question for you guys, for me, is how would you change this batting lineup, or would you change this batting lineup in any way?
In terms of the ordering, it's a simple no for me. Shakib comes in at three, or possibly at four with Ridoy pushing up to three, and you can shuffle it around. You can try different options, but that's it. I would keep Shakib at three or four, Ridoy again at three or four, Mahamudullah and Jakir at five and six. Honestly,
And this weakness that we have, please tell me, against leg spinners.
Shagor, how do we get rid of that?
Hasaranga came back, and 90% of these guys did not know which side of the wicket to play.
Yeah,
Although before Hasaranga came, there weren't too many guys left to play, but like whoever was left had no idea.
I have no idea how they're gonna improve playing leg spinners or mystery spinners because there doesn't seem to be any conscious effort of doing that, right? Like in the practices or in the pretty sure like in the coaching sessions as well. Like as you mentioned in the Netherlands, tour, right? Like they're planning on doing something. They're executing those plans, playing against franchise teams, like looking to improve their T20 game before the World Cup. So they have a plan. But then Bangladesh, they know they have been struggling for like against leg spinners for a long, long time.
Hmm.
What do? They don't play leg spinners in the domestic list A or T20 games.
Yeah.
So first, that's the root of the problem. They should, you know, unearth like create like they have fast bowling, pace bowling hunts, right? So they should do some leg spinning hunts, and then get a pool of players, raw players, groom them, and then maybe pick a handful of them to represent the domestic sides, either list A or the
Well,
first
they
list.
did do that a few years ago, where BCB made a rule that
Mandatory to
mandate,
play
and then
leg
no one did
spinners.
it. And then
Yeah,
no one did it.
they have to
So
stick to something drastic like that. Otherwise, they're not gonna improve because they don't play enough leg spin in the first place to improve on it.
yeah.
We've pretty much covered everything for the third T20. I'm just gonna gloss over the second T20I for a bit. Does this horrendous loss in that last game sort of undo a lot of the good work that was done in the second T20I?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the thing is the theme is constant, and they have a one good game out of nowhere. I don't know, is that enough to say there is that game in them to play it a certain way when the theme is this game where people are scared, people are not really expressing themselves on the wicket, or they don't know how to play a certain type of bowler, or they just don't know how to respond to a target that's been set. All of these themes have been constant. Nothing's changed in terms of those themes. But then there's an odd game where things just go right, and like that, I don't think for me that's consistency. So I don't think it undoes anything, because how Bangladesh played in the first and the third T20I is pretty much what their natural game is. And unfortunately, having that odd good game isn't really enough to say that no, you have it in you to play this format in a certain way.
Yeah, I think this, if anything, this 3020 international will serve as a bitter reminder of what we're lacking. Like, and it will issue a good warning, that yeah, we need to improve on this. There is still some months left. Please work on it because we're gonna face like quality leg spinners and then side-on bowlers, slingy action bowlers in the World Cup. So yeah, still time. We can do something about it.
You're getting out to Dhananjay jersey, but what are you gonna do to Aryan Dutt opening the bowling at 94 kilometers per hour?
Aryan Dutt is picking a handful of wickets around it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Every match he's getting like 3-4, 3-4, something like that. Pretty good. Yeah, looking good.
We're going to quickly move over to the India England series. Not much to talk about because it's been 2 weeks since India won the series, pretty much, but 4-1. And England did not look like they were interested in winning that last game, really.
Oh yeah, they had like no.
In the past they had to leave the games in the middle just because the ship was sailing away and they had to catch that ship.
Yeah, yeah.
Seems something like that is in England's second
They just
innings.
wanted to take the flight home. That's it.
Yeah, they were done.
They could.
Even batsman like Folks, he was done. He was
Yeah,
just swinging across the line, just trying to get out.
yeah. It's sad because the game we saw. It's funny, because the only game Anderson didn't play, they actually won. But if you think about it, the kind of game we saw from England in that first match was quite exceptional and clinical. But what hurt England the most is none of their middle order guys delivered at all. Root had a good game here, good innings there. Pope, really nothing after that first game. But you can excuse him for that. I think once he scored 196 in the first game of the series, you're kind of good for the rest of the series because you expect guys to put their hand up here and there, right? Crawley didn't really convert anything, but Crawley and Duckett always gave them the start that they needed, the start that baseball, kind of lives on. But then Bairstow, basically a walking wicket, didn't really help. Stokes, nothing. Folks, nothing. So 3-4 of your batting order is not giving you much of an output. But I think really good signs with Shoaib Bashir. I would say he's probably challenging Jack Leach for a position in the English summer at this point.
Shagor, have we seen the end of Johnny Bairstow in Test cricket? 100 and done.
Uh, from the words of the England players and captain, doesn't seem so, but because in our circuit, like we know when someone's getting the axe, like there's a vibe to it.
Yeah.
But then from the England squad, there was no vibe emanating that, they were not pinpointing at anyone. They were like, okay, we play baseball way, we live by the sword, we die by the sword. So not like it's uncertain if it's 100 and out, but then again, according to his form, it should be like it won't be a bad call to leave him out and give someone else like a Dan Lawrence a chance because the guy has been sitting there for 5 test matches in India running drinks and
Yeah.
seeing everyone like fall apart like crazy. So yeah,
And to not get a game,
that's
like,
crazy, man. At least in the last game, maybe because it was Bairstow's 100th test, he wasn't given a chance. But they could have replaced him with Pope. Pope was in horrendous form, and the way he was gifting away his wickets was
he was
like a shame.
like, if Ashwin didn't deliver an overspin delivery and he did something else, Pope had like no idea. He was like, yo, what is that? What's that gonna do? Like before the ball even lands, he's like, oh my god, I'm scared.
Yeah,
Like,
and the wicketkeeper said to Ashwin,
folks.
right, that he's gonna
Oh no,
Jurel,
the Jurel,
that he's
yeah.
gonna
That is
run down the track, so ball the quicker one,
Kuldeep,
ball
yeah.
the quicker one, and he did run down the track, and he was stumped. So if it's this easy to predict what he's gonna do, then Pope is a talented player, but what he has done after that 196 is difficult viewing.
8 consecutive duds, basically, and that's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to that first innings of that first test, and he looked shaky. That second innings was pretty much an outlier in this scenario because he came out, he played a really positive game. Um, India were under the pump, so their bowlers kind of faltered, but after that, it was pretty much a copy paste of what was happening that first innings. Um, so yeah, I mean, England have a few things to think about ahead of their English summer, I would say, and uh, Australia is making a lot of fun with them, but Australia is not far away from it either. Australia is under the pump too, man.
Anderson, how long does he have? Is he going
Summer,
to play
summer.
2025?
No,
2025 Ashes?
surely
No?
not. But it's difficult because Ollie Robinson hasn't really done enough.
And he's constantly having injury issues.
So if the only thing Anderson plays is just Test cricket, you could probably see him play 2025 Ashes. But do you is this a time where you give a chance to Josh Tong, um, Mark Wood, Matthew Potts, those three? Because for me, it seems like those three are probably a better match for the style of cricket England's playing.
I would, I guess, ask him to, choose which series in the summer he wants his farewell to be in, because we've
Yes.
got
Yeah.
we've got a couple of options against West Indies and Sri Lanka. Not downplaying these opponents, but he can easily cross Shane Warne 708 if that's what he has in mind. and just call it a day. It's
700,
been a
right?
great career.
He's 700 or 690? No, 700.
708. I think that
No, no,
was Shane.
no. Thing Anderson.
Oh,
Anderson
he's already
is
got 700.
700. Yeah, yeah,
700.
yeah. So
So only nine more wickets, and he becomes the all-time second highest Test wicket
yeah,
taker. Unless he wants to, pay tribute to the late and great Shane Warne and say, "I'm going to
and
stop at
uh,
707."
Highly doubt it.
Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Anyways, Yashasvi Jaiswal, it was his series pretty much. Jazz ball, as they like to call it now.
oh my God, this guy's crazy. Um, in Shagor's words, he's spanking the bowlers. Uh, Essentially, in England's method of from ball one. Um, what do you guys think? Um, is it a byproduct of what England has been doing that Jaiswal has felt that the best way to put pressure on them is play their brand, and because he's kind of built that power game now, he can do that? Or is it, you know, these wickets or the way Bashir's bowling, the way Hartley's bowling, they've bowled well in the series, take nothing away from that. If you defend for too long, they might just get on top of you. Which one is it?
I think it's uh, like the natural player that Jaiswal is. He's an attacking player. We have seen in the West Indies in his debut series as well. He was not someone with a, he doesn't hold back. If
Yeah,
there's a ball to be put for four or six,
yeah,
doesn't matter if it's the first over, he'll do it.
yeah,
Also, I was just looking at his first class stats. His strike rate is almost 70 in 24 overs. So that shows that he is an attacking batsman, especially given that he's an opener. So he likes to score quickly. And yeah, England spinners gave lots of, like, they were not that experienced in India. So Hartley and Shoaib Bashir, even Rehan, served up lots of juicy balls to him to be spanked. So Jaiswal made full use of that. And the confidence that he has stepping down to Anderson and other bowlers, and the technicality that he showed, imperious. So I don't think it was a result of England's baseball approach. It's just that Jaiswal's quality showed during that series, the whole series. He did not look shaky in any of the games. He threw away his wickets in a couple of innings, going for the slogs and stuff.
yeah.
But then again, he always scored some runs before that. So yeah, I think Jaiswal is a great find for India and long future ahead, long career.
Rohit Sharma again getting some runs in the home series, but unfortunately, uh, a lot of the discussion automatically becomes about how the same performances aren't reflected when India are touring the more difficult conditions. For now, do you just, as an Indian fan, let's say if you were one, for now, do you just celebrate what he's done in this series, both as a batter and captain, or do you start getting worried that this performance is not going to be reflective of his overseas performances?
um, you could be worried because we saw a little issue when they toured South Africa with that, where that kind of settles in or creeps into his game. But I feel like they back him more than they backed Virat Kohli when he was captain for some reason. Uh, I don't know, just feels like that sometimes because there used to be a lot of chatter about Kohli's technique or this issue, that issue when he was captain. Whereas maybe this is a byproduct of Jaiswal batting so well that it kind of gets overshadowed. And it'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to Australia this year, so how Rohit responds to that challenge is gonna be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm excited for that series. I think it's gonna be a good one. Although it's gonna be freaking 5 as test matches, way too long. But yeah,
Shagor Padikkal half century on debut, and Sarfraz getting another half century, pretty much cementing his spot in the middle.
Yeah, Sarfraz coming of age. He should have been selected a long time back. But yeah, he's showing that you should let the bat talk. Doesn't matter what happens. You just keep scoring. You will get noticed at some point. Padikkal, he's a good player, but then if you watch that 50, he gave a lot of like he was not fluent. He was a bit scratchy, and after he scored the 50, he I think Sarfraz was his partner. He went to him and he was not happy. He was relieved that, oh, okay, I scored a 50, because he was so scratchy. But yeah, might be nerves or, first game jitters, whatever you call it. But yeah, he's a good one, but surely not in the 11. Like, can be in the squad, cannot be in the squad, might not be when the
I
players.
mean, if Virat comes back, he's pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah.
drops out, but it's a good option to have, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, on the reserves for sure. But yeah, I feel bad for Ishwaran, Abhimanyu Ishwaran, right? Like the opening
Oh, the
reserve batter,
opening, yeah.
never got a chance. So yeah,
Either it was Mayank Agarwal or Jaiswal or Prithvi Shaw or someone else. Someone else always,
everyone apart from him.
everyone apart from him just went over.
The
Tough.
last thing I guess I just want to address Kuldeep Yadav. It's not easy playing sort of third fiddle as a spinner in this packed Indian side, but you can see that he deserves to be in any test teams playing 11 regularly. Just doesn't happen.
No, and this series was probably a testament to his skills, but more so that it put to notice that India's selection of Kuldeep Yadav has been very mishandled in test level. He's barely played at home. He's played the odd game here and there. After taking a 5-4 in Sydney or Melbourne, whatever it was, he then didn't play a test match for a long time. So he's gone through that, curve, and I think he's taken over Akshar Patel pretty much now as that third spinner in the India Test lineup. But yeah, he's a really good option to have, and like we were discussing before, he kind of responds to the keeper's call really well of what the keeper wants him to do because keepers will always read the game a little quicker than anyone else because they're so close to the batter. They're just able to see that um, change of mindset or change of plan from the batter. So yeah, he's someone who responds to that really, really, really well. So that was really good to see throughout the series.
So that pretty much covers the England India series. Just one last point that you were mentioning. This 5 match test idea between the big three, is it getting to the players? So basically, आगे बढ़ने के लिए this.
Yeah.
As you were mentioning earlier, 5 tests is not exactly easy, and the big three have sort of decided that they're always going to play 5 tests against each other. Is it
Yes.
getting to the players a bit? Like you can see that the mental and physical fatigue is getting to them.
Yes, and also they complain about the schedule and how there's not enough space. You're putting 10 days gap between your matches.
For the
Don't be
captain to go
complaining.
attend a wedding, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Like just because the Ambanis are having a wedding, you have to put a 10-day gap between test matches. Like we're not dumb. So don't complain about oh there's too much cricket, the schedule's too tight. No.
To be honest, the wedding there was a 10-day wedding, 10-day gap in schedule even before the wedding between the second and third test, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. That second yeah, yeah.
England went to Dubai for a
Dubai.
vacation.
Yeah. They
What's
brought their
going on?
families. They
And
went
they
to
don't
play
have,
golf.
yeah, what packed schedule? Just play against Ireland, play a test, invite Ireland, play a test
Yeah.
against Ireland, or go to UAE, play against Afghanistan.
Yeah, but they
Like,
won't. They'll make excuses for that.
crazy, man.
Crazy. Yeah, man.
Look
I
at
mean, it's
QB's
pathetic.
eyes.
It's
He's so
pathetic.
pissed.
No, it pisses me off because these are the people who have brought this narrative. There's too much cricket. ODI cricket is useless. There's no point of ODI cricket, etc., etc. And then they put stuff like this where there's a 20-day gap in a 5 test match series. A 20-day gap where nothing is happening. How does that make sense? And this is not like back in the day, like you said, back in the day they had to leave the match early because the ship was leaving. This is not like that. That you have to synchronize it with the ship release date. The ship is gonna sail on this day, so you can only fly on this day. So you have to space out your matches. Pathetic, pathetic. Big three just doing whatever the hell they want, and everyone else
Big
suffering.
three doing JaaTaa.
JaaTaa, exactly.
Shagor, it looked like the second test was actually slipping away from Australia completely, especially when they were, what, 68 for 4 at one point in the last innings. They fought back in a way that only Australia can, and there you have it, another victory for them.
Yeah, they're actually 34 for 4 and then 80 for 5.
2 for 5, right?
So they're almost down and out there. So New Zealand bottled quite a lot. I think they choked under pressure, the pressure of not having beaten Australia in tests for a long time. And Australia being Australia, they managed to scrape through another victory somehow, some way. And once again, their captain Pat Cummins hitting the winning shot. But one thing you get to see with this Australia side is that there are multiple heroes in the side, multiple match winners. There's not a single person who is performing all the time and getting you over the line. And it's not someone who you can put your finger to, okay, today this guy will win the match, because there's so many. Alex Carey, I don't think anyone would have expected him to nail a fourth innings chase like that. And that also above 270. And that's a tall chase in New Zealand, I guess, New Zealand. So, yeah, and the way the other batters after the 5 wickets fell down performed, especially the big partnership Alex Carey had with Mitchell Marsh, and then Pat Cummins, obviously. Even when Pat Cummins came in, they were kind of on the ropes with still like 60 runs to get and only 3 wickets remaining. So the partnership between Alex Carey and Mitchell Marsh, and then Carey and Cummins, showed the fight that this Australian team has, which not many teams have in this day and age. They just like to, hit sixes or fours and get their way out of trouble by hitting. But they played proper test cricket, and yeah, whatever New Zealand threw at them, they countered it quite nicely.
How important was this test match for Alex Carey and Marnus Labuschagne, given their impact in the match and how this pretty much again secures their position completely, despite the fact that they both missed out on 100?
Yeah, I don't think they'll mind too much about the 100, given it's Australia and their mindset about team first, individuals later on. So yeah, Labuschagne a big innings was due for a long time, and even
You
though
called it, yeah? You called it.
I called it, yeah, even though there might not have been external pressure on him, like you have to perform or something like that, but internally there must be some pressure, like within himself, that oh, I'm not performing. He's that kind of a guy, he wants to get runs, he wants to be in the game. So it was good to see him score. But then Alex Carey, I think we talked about it in our JaaTaa episode last time as well, whether he would be under the pump. But then we said,
Comes out
yeah,
on
under the
that.
pump in terms of batting, but not keeping maybe. But today, not today, I mean, through this innings, he cements his spot for the
For
near
border
future
cover
for sure.
striker.
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah.
The innings that he played as a wicketkeeper batter, I think he's only the third keeper batter to have had this kind of an innings. I was saying some stat, I don't remember. Adam Gilchrist was one, I remember. And then,
Not bad company to have.
yeah, so that was a really incredible innings, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I heard this from Alex Malcolm, who's the ESPN cricket for correspondent for Australia, and probably a senior editor. He said that Marnus was working harder than everyone else, and he wasn't taking any breaks through this rut that he was going through, and So it wasn't a case of like lack of preparation, because you can probably never say that Marnus is gonna have a lack of preparation. Uh, but it was just a mental thing, and even you could say Ben Sears had him a little in that second innings there, because as soon as he edged one and it got dropped by Mitchell, and he did get caught and bowled like two deliveries after, but from that delivery to the next two deliveries, it seemed like he was thinking about, oh man, I just nicked one, got saved. So yeah, he would have liked 100, because that would have taken things off his back, that pressure off his shoulders a lot. But a good 90 nevertheless, and especially in a winning case, never hurts.
Fardin, can we also say that it was the first innings that really led Australia down pretty much? Sorry, New Zealand down
New
pretty much.
Zealand, yeah, yeah. I mean, what, 14 wickets in that second day or something like that, where they kind of just got outplayed. Pretty comical, I would say, in the way that that first innings went for them. Um, if that applied themselves a little bit better, they would have had Australia would have probably been chasing 350, and then it's a whole different ball game when you are 220 for seven chasing 350 than when you're chasing um, 290, 282 or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a fair shout, that that first innings for New Zealand just ran them short. And you know what they
But
say, you gotta bat well that first innings every time in a test game, because if you
but
don't,
with New Zealand bowling the way they did, and then with Australia not giving up the way they were batting on, you have to question whether like 300, 350 would have been enough, given that 270 should have been enough in the first place. Let alone first innings, I know they did bad, but 270 from like 34 for 4, then 80 for 5, 280, 281. That should have been more than enough for New Zealand to exploit and win. So I'm not sure if even 350 would have been enough, given
No,
the
but
context.
Chagor, here's the thing: New Zealand were 278 for three, and then they end up getting all out for what,
three,
372, I think it was.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that collapse, when you're well set on 278 for three, two batters
yeah,
doing well, uh,
yeah.
you've seen off the new ball threat and everything. The old ball isn't reversing too much either. You go from that to suddenly getting bundled out for less than another 100, losing your next 7 wickets for less than 100 runs. That's not good, right? You could have easily gotten 420, 425, maybe even 450 for that matter.
And Scott Kugelin was the highest run scorer out of all of
Yeah,
those guys that came after it, right? So it doesn't
the
really
tail
help.
didn't even wag. It was just Scott Kugelheim trying to get as many runs as he could aggressively as possible.
Yeah, Saudi can't even bat
Yeah,
anymore these days.
I
Um,
was reading up the an article about this series, and then it said how Australia's lower, like the bowlers, the four bowlers they have, they were a bit concerned about the low returns they were having with the bat. So just imagine the type of dilemma
mindset.
they're in. Yeah, the top three countries are that they're expecting runs from their lower order, like big runs, and it's a concern that they're not having big runs. But then this series, all of them chipped in with big runs. Nathan Lyon in the first test,
Yeah,
then Hazelwood as well stuck around, and then Cummins, as always, he scores some handy runs. So yeah, it's a privilege to have, a luxury to have so many options in a team. And all the batters can bowl as well. Marnus with a leg spin, Smith with a leg spin, head off spin.
and medium pace. Marnus
Yeah,
medium pace.
crazy.
Steve Smith, the opener. Is it working? Is it not working? Have we not seen enough? Should this end? Where do
Not
you guys
working.
stand? Final go in Sri Lanka, do you think?
He might actually be better suited to opening in Sri Lanka compared to the regular test he's having in Australia or New Zealand, to be
Wait,
honest.
Australia's next test is what? Border
Sri
Gavaskar.
Lanka. No, no, no. The Sri Lanka
Uh,
before that.
oh, Sri
That's
Lanka.
in Sri Lanka, and then they play Border Gavaskar when their home season starts again,
So that's what, November.
November. No, no. Border Gavaskar is in November, and the Sri Lanka series, I think it's in August, September, that period basically
Ah, ah.
after the LPL.
I think, man, this whole thing of Smith, the opener, is just injustice to Cameron Bancroft. I'm sorry. It's just injustice because Bancroft deserved this, man. Like, there is no way you can tell me Bancroft doesn't deserve it. So I think because they've tried to, you know, cater to what Smudge wants, I don't know. You probably give him one tour, but if he get if he gets 100 in Sri Lanka, he probably plays out his career as opener. I think
I think so too.
safe to say. Yeah,
Even though what Shagor said is completely correct, it's easier to open in Sri Lanka than it is in Australia or New Zealand or South Africa or whatever.
yeah,
But it's absolutely true that it's going to give him the license and the leeway to go say that I'm going to open again against India, a team against whom he has very, very good record, by the way.
yeah. And I think what's I think the Sheffield Shield final is next week, where Western Australia is currently playing Victoria, and I think the winner will play Tasmania in the final.
Mm.
And Cameron Bancroft is currently 42 not out.
But then, Renshaw was the spare batter.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because, but I think with Renshaw, the reason he's spare batter is he can open and he can play in the middle order.
Middle as well.
So,
Flexible.
that
Yeah, but
flexibility,
I don't think they're going to play
dynamic, in the
Bancroft.
words of Bangladesh cricket.
But he's an opener, right? Like Renshaw. So they took Renshaw in mind because he was in competition with Bancroft.
Yeah,
This shows that Bancroft and Renshaw, when it comes down to the opening slot, they'll pick Renshaw.
And I guarantee you they'll continue with Renshaw in Sri Lanka because Renshaw is touted as
Yeah.
the better player of spin.
Spinner, yeah.
So they'll go with him again.
rude. This is just rude, man. I'm sorry, but
All because of Warner.
all because of Warner.
All because of Warner in two ways. First, he retired, and then
Yeah, valid.
But here's the thing with now that this topic has come up, is there any space in the middle given how everyone's performing? Like the only space I can probably think of is dropping Travis Head, which would be a bit absurd right now.
He's had a lean patch
Mm,
uh, in Test cricket, I think, or through the home summer at least.
pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much through the home summer, he's just had a excused. He's won a World Cup. I'm sorry.
World Test Championship first and then a
World Test
World Cup.
Championship,
He's excused.
Ashes, World Cup. He's done like three things. Excused. Yeah, I think with uh, Travis Head essentially being indispensable for at least, I would say, rest of this year. There's not really any change you can make. The only change that is on the cards is Smith's position, but I will be very, very, very surprised if Smith doesn't go well in Sri Lanka and is still opening for Border Gavaskar,
And on the
given
other
the
hand, Head is also a pretty
terrace.
good player of spin, so he
Exactly,
will get a knock or two in Sri Lanka for sure.
for sure, exactly. So the demons of 2020, they will want to right that wrong, and I don't know if Rishabh Pant is coming back, which he might be because he's been past fit now. Australia are gonna want to not take any chance at all with this series, and So Smudge get some runs in Sri Lanka, but they're looking at someone else for Border Gavaskar.
About the bowling attack of Australia, realistically, especially if we focus on maybe Mitchell Stark and Nathan Lyon for now, how much cricket do you think these two guys have left in them?
Stark, given the fact that he's gone back into the IPL mix, tells me not a lot. He's probably thinking one more Ashes. Yeah, like because he's gone back to the IPL. This is all because of that. Like he's been very reluctant to go into the IPL because of the home summer. He wants to prepare for that. He wants to be ready and fresh. And also he ran um, RCB dry of money back in the day. Uh, but besides that, he's wayward at times. Like especially when Kugline was going off, he looked like he was like a third grade bowler, bowling full tosses, bowling into his pads, and sometimes that comes into play. Is this? Would you say how impressed are you with Lance Morris, or are you impressed with Lance Morris, or is it you give Xavier Bartlett a go in Test cricket over say Stark in a couple of years' time? Although it's far away, but two home summers from now, you see Stark playing. I don't know if I'm seeing Stark playing 2026 or 2025 home summer.
Not happening. 2025, the 2024-2025, Border Gavaskar Trophy is going to be a big test for Mitchell Stark. It's a five-match
Yeah,
test series. There's no way. I don't see him playing all five matches, if I'm being honest. Not because he's going to lose form, but because they are going to try and rest and rotate if possible. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tall ask of him to play that and then continue
because
because
you
he
have
is
like
playing all
what
three formats now.
Nasser. Yeah, you have Nasser. You have Neezer. You have Bartlett. You have Morris. Who
Can we
else?
also say this is the last, upcoming home season will be the last season for Bolland as well? Shagor, do
Shagor
we miss out
remembered the
on
name.
Bolland?
Shagor's remembered the name. That's where it started.
Boland.
His boy.
Boland was on the reserves for the whole summer, the seven
Yeah.
tests, and he didn't play any. And might as well retire from internationals.
He played
But
the
yeah,
World Test
20
Championship final, right? And
He
that's it.
did.
After that,
Hazelwood was injured, so he played that one.
the 2025 seasons, Pacers have been kind of locked in with Lance Morris, Michael Nesser, and Scott Boland. They won't need anyone else apart from these because they're not going to play anyway, just as reserves.
yeah.
And with a five-match series, yeah, maybe one or two games, they might need one bowler, maybe Michael Nesser, depending on the pitch, or Boland. But yeah, Morris is unlikely to feature, to be honest, because Australia already have a stable like bowling lineup, and then they don't lean towards Morris for some reason. Like I know he has express pace, but the other two are proven first-class performers. So
Yeah. And
let's see.
I mean, this is a very left field call, but Chris Tremaine, if you remember back in the days, Tremaine
Yeah,
has 47 wickets this year in Sheffield Shield. Joel Paris has like 35, 34, something like that. Nathan McAndrew has like 45. So a lot of these guys have good amount of wickets this year. Gurinder Sandhu's got like 30. So there's a few guys actually knocking in the door if needed, and if someone was to get injured, um, they do have some options to go back to. Because it does seem like Rakimul said, I would be very surprised if all three Pacers play every test in Border Gavaskar, especially coming off that Sri Lanka series.
Joel Paris would be an interesting inclusion with that
Yeah,
left
left
arm
arm.
angle.
Yeah,
He's very tall, so he
yeah,
can use his height. And
yeah,
I know they tried him in ODIs, it just didn't work. He didn't look like he was the most naturally suited bowler for ODIs. He could actually be a really good inclusion in tests. And
yeah,
Australia would, not through Joel Paris necessarily, but Australia would want to carry on this left arm seamer legacy that's been going on for a while now. It probably started with
yes,
Bracken and then
yeah,
Johnson, Stark, and now you
yeah,
want someone to take the mantle out
yeah,
after Stark, you know?
yeah. Because Behrendorff doesn't really play as many first class matches, or probably doesn't play any at all.
Hmm.
So, and then Spencer Johnson, maybe one or two games he's played. So I would say him and trying to think if there's anyone else left arm, any other left arm cases in the mix.
Gonna get emotional talking about James Faulkner.
Oh my God, please! The fact that they picked him for that Australian summer. Oh my God, what was it? 2014,
Which one? The
2015,
test?
the test with
The test
someone.
he played in the 2013 English
13.
summer,
Yes, yes,
and
yes, yes.
even considered him for the 2015 English summer again.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, like you said, don't see, don't see thing playing, Stark playing an extra summer. If this summer doesn't go well for him, uh, they'll be reluctant.
What about the 27 World Cup?
2027 World Cup,
Yeah.
Yikes!
bro. Him and Stoinis can forget about that already.
Why? Stoinis, I don't care. Stark, World
Why
Cup performer.
why is Stoinis catching strays?
Stoinis catching strays. Him and Stoinis are not playing 2027. I can guarantee you that right now.
What happened with them?
Because, bro, look at the way Xavier Bartlett was bowling in that ODI series.
Stoinis, what happened to
Oh,
him?
Stoinis, bro. Aaron Hardy, Tim David,
Mitchell Marsh.
Mitchell Marsh happened to him. Okay, those three players happened to him. Aaron Hardy specifically happened to him because now they're just gonna back Aaron Hardy for at least a few years.
But let's talk about the Bison because his name
Yeah,
has come up. Another
yes,
match-winning innings from him, Shagor.
legend.
Legend.
This man does
Yeah,
something that no other player can do. It's crazy.
he actually plays baseball in the Australian lineup. He takes all the pressure off the other
Yeah,
batter. He goes on about his aggressive stroke play,
yeah,
and yeah, he doesn't play any half-hearted shots. The ones he plays, they go. So
they
Mitchell
fly.
Marsh, Bison.
We have to talk about New Zealand for a bit. Their batters showed up in that third innings. That was
Yeah,
important. They did that. That's great. Uh, Bit disappointed with Tom Blundell, and he hasn't done justice to the trust that they have showed him throughout the years. And BJ Watling's shoes were always going to be big. They were going to be difficult to fill, and he's having a tough time now.
yeah, I agree. I've never really seen Blundell live up his true potential. He's always looked good and then just kind of threw it away. Um, just overall, never really got going. I know us, New Zealand are very much for backing guys as much as possible and giving them those chances. But I would say with Blundell, now what? He's played 30 tests, he's averaging 37. You could say, yeah, that's not bad. But I mean, in recent modern day cricket, they probably want someone averaging 40 as a wicketkeeper batter, right? Like, realistically, you want your wicketkeeper to be scoring runs. And especially, we talked about how that innings, how comical it was. They lost so many wickets for just 100 runs at the end. Whereas you flip it on Australia, Carey showed up when they needed him to and got them home. Whereas Blundell, when he needed to show up and scored those runs for them, unfortunately got out for what, 9. Um, Time for Kane Williamson's cousin, Dane Cleaver, to come in, or
It's
Tim Seifert.
possible. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
possible.
Team Seifert, I wouldn't write it off, especially if they. I don't know what New Zealand's next tour is. The tour to India. They might consider trying something different for that. Just bring Seifert in and see if he can adjust better to the spinners in the middle. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it's going to be a tough tour.
you know, the funny thing is that wicket was turning a lot, right? Um, when Glenn Phillips took his fifer, um, and or even like when Glenn Phillips just came on to bowl, it was turning. Like I know they don't pick Aegis Patel at home, but surely if your wickets are turning like that towards the back end of the summer, you need to be picking a specialist spinner.
Or even Santner for that matter.
Sandler
If
is
you
there.
want your
Sandler,
batting depth to increase, yeah,
No,
Santner's
I know
always there.
Santner is there, but they're not playing him. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't think they anticipated such turn. They were surprised by the turn on offer. It looked like a Indian day two, day three pitch. Warned.
Warren.
Like by the time it came down to it, not first day it was green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Like the Pacers can't do anything once the ball gets old, and then you're relying on two very capable all rounders right now, Rachin Ravindra and Glenn Phillips. But it doesn't
yeah,
feel like on most days they can win you games with ball in hand. That's a responsibility that someone like Santner or Ajas Patel can take.
yeah.
At least you
Because
can trust
with
them with that
with
responsibility.
Rachin, he's only bowling 4 or 5 overs max. With Santner or Aegis Patel, you can get 15, 17, 18 overs, and they might pick up 3 or 4. So I think that's the challenge New Zealand have to kind of address. I know Daryl Mitchell said they don't care about the result, and then Fox Cricket champed him up, saying, "Oh, look at this," and whatever. It's time. I think cricket teams have to think outside of the box at home conditions too now. Um, we're seeing that like in Australia can play the same four bowlers and not really have any effect because they have freaking Green, Marsh, who are literally can bowl full time and bat full time. So they play with like 7 options regardless. So but other teams have to be a little more flexible. Like Southeast days are numbered at
Numbered.
this point. Southeast days, I don't even know why they made him test captain because it's gonna bring an instability into this because like imagine having a captain for like a year and a half and then he gets dropped. Now what? With Glenn Phillips, your captain.
Shagor, that is a concerning thing. Saudi's form has clearly dipped. He's not the bowler we've known him to be. And on the other hand, New Zealand have tried Latham as captain. It didn't exactly work out all that well, at least not in tests. It kind of worked in ODIs, but not in tests. I don't think they're going back to Williamson. What do they do? How do they sort this problem out?
Leadership. I think will they won't go back to Williamson again, right, for the captaincy. And then Saudis might be out. Latham didn't have a really good.
Williamson's not taking captaincy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Latham didn't have a good time. So there's there are not many leaders in the team, like test match leaders.
Yeah.
Leadership qualities there is even Phillips has, but then not test match captain wise. So I would think Latham is the next best you can get in terms of experience and whatever. Because if Williamson's not taking it, if you look at the like squad, it's kind of a young squad, and they're not going to give it to like the wicket keeper or Daryl Mitchell. So yeah, Latham is should be the choice.
I mean, I think had Devon Conway maintained his performances and remained injury free, I think he would have been a decent option as well. But
Yeah.
like I
Mm.
said, didn't maintain his form and got injured. So right now, I don't think he is within the
Santner as
reckoning.
captain. Santner as captain.
TC is not T20I, my guy.
My guy, this is the time for Santner to be all
No.
format captain.
Sandner first should establish
Hash,
himself as consistently in the
hashtag
test squad.
Santner as captain. That is my new. That's my new thing.
Fardin, say, watch this space, huh?
Watch this space right now.
I'm imagining Santner batting all the way up at six, and he's bringing his spin twin Ish Sodhi back into the test side,
Oh
and they're
my
playing two
god.
specialist spinners at home,
Oh my
And
god.
Rachin Ravindra.
and Rachin Ravindra with Glenn Phillips
And
if required.
Phillips.
They're making Phillips keep when he's not bowling, and all sorts of random things are happening. Again, I think that pretty much covers New Zealand and their worries. Just one small thing with Kugelheim, they actually asked him to go around the wicket and try the bodyline
Body.
tactic to Mitch Marsh. It looks so ridiculous because you're dropping Wagner and you're asking another bowler to try the bodyline tactic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think the one thing that was really well validated was picking Ben Sears over Wagner 100%, but picking Kugelheim to do Wagner's role is like a stab in the
It's
back.
like
It's like
Wagner from Daraz.
Wagner from the yeah, it's a stab in the back essentially because you're telling him, well, you're old, you can't do it anymore, but Scotty can. And the thing is, I feel like Wagner had just because of that left arm angle, the stature he had, history behind him of scaring batters. Even if he was bowling it at 135, it was still scary. Whereas you can have Kugelheim bowling it at 140, but like I said, guys are sitting back, prepared for that body line, and then if he bowls a Yorker or something, you adjust to it. Whereas with Wagner, every ball you're like, oh shit, bro, this guy's gonna hit me at any time. And Matthew Wade knows that well. You know, he took a few to the arm back in their day. But yeah, I feel like New Zealand's had a very off home season. They were run deep by South Africa's third 11, um, and they've lost now two to Australia. So they have a few things to discuss ahead of the what home summer in 8 weeks.
Shagor, Ben Sears on debut bowled his absolute heart out, and on the other hand, Matt Henry was incredible all throughout the Test match. These two pacers.
Yeah, for sure. Ben Sears, with his extra pace, he will be forced to be reckoned with among the young crop of pacers. But Matt Henry, class. And he has been class for a long, long time. He has been performing wherever he's playing first class cricket, be it New Zealand, be it county cricket. So just because New Zealand had those like trio of, Bolt, Saudi, Wagner, he could not get in.
Yeah,
But now is his chance to shine. Saudi is, you know, in the twilight of his career. Wagner is out of the picture. So I see Matt Henry to be owning this stage for the next couple of years and, being the leader of the pack because he's experienced and he performs. Whenever he gets chances, he performs, especially in conditions which, are a bit conducive to seamers.
yeah.
So yeah, it was really great to see Henry getting the rewards of his years of hard work, but sadly contributed to nothing. I
He's
mean, they
been
lost the game.
he's
But
been the sidekick to uh, Bolt and Saudi for so
Saudi,
long. Finally, he's the main character. So uh, it's a career that's been well documented, and it will be documented even more now because he's taking wickets for fun. So bring back Adam Milne, please. Then that lineup is even more threatening. Drop Kugelheim, play Milne, but then I think they still need that left arm option, which is I don't know any left arm options in New Zealand, so can
I mean, we all know one option. It's just a question of whether they can somehow convince him to return or not.
what Wagner?
Bolt.
Oh,
Trent
Bull.
Bolt,
Oh,
come
Bull.
on, man.
No, that ship has sailed. He's just
Yeah.
he has the ideal lifestyle of an international cricketer. Play when I want.
If somehow by some miracle they make it to the World Test Championship final again, he's gonna be back.
He's gonna be that. Of course.
Is he though? Will he be back?
The
Why?
World Test Championship final is not happening. So that's gone.
Okay.
Oh, talking about the World Test Championship final, I learned something interesting today, which we can discuss very quickly, um, and not to go off track too much. Learned something today that says uh, Bangladesh needs to win 7 out of 10 games to go to. I'll put this graphic up on the video, but I have it here. So Australia needs 4 out of 7 wins. So they have 5 left with India and 2 versus Sri Lanka, like you mentioned. India needs 5 out of 10. South Africa needs 7 out of 8. New Zealand needs 6 out of 8. Pakistan needs 7 out of 9. West Indies 7 out of 9. Baseball needs 12 out of 12. Bangladesh needs 7 out of 10, and Sri Lanka needs 8 out of 11. So for um, Australia and India, they're pretty much through to the World Test Championship final unless Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, and Pakistan, West Indies can do something where, well, they have to win most of their remaining games, 90% of their games. So,
It's the scheduling for me. The scheduling that what do you call it? New Zealand has. It's a little too difficult with that three-match test series in India.
yeah, yeah,
A series in India, you just write it off at this point.
yeah. So they
You
can't
lost.
get 7 out of 9 because, like, yeah, if you 6 out of 8, because 2 versus Sri Lanka, 3 versus England, 3 versus India. So they'll get 5, maybe, because that England series is at home. Bangladesh, on the other hand, actually has a good chance of this 7 out of 10. No, no, no. I'm being realistic here.
Who are they playing?
Bangladesh is placing 2 against Sri Lanka, 2 against West Indies, 2 against South Africa. South Africa and Sri Lanka is
At
at
home,
home.
right?
South Africa and Sri Lanka are at home.
But we've never beaten Sri Lanka in Bangladesh, so that's also a
No, I
factor.
know, but if not now, when? After 24 years.
So that's not realist. That's optimistic.
No, that is realistic. You should be freaking. If you can beat New Zealand at home, you should be able to beat South Africa at home.
Shamar Joseph will run through us.
Bro, the West Indies series is away. We will forget that,
You
and
know,
the India series. I just need one win from both.
whenever you said West Indies series is away, it reminded me of Jason Holder and Kemar Roach running through our batting. Day one, session one, hour one,
Our,
50,
our one.
47 or 48 all out. I don't remember the
That
exact
literally that
score.
happened. Yep, yep,
Yeah,
it happened. It was like 62 all out or something.
everything was going behind the wicket in the slips and keeper, right?
Everything, literally everything.
The demons of the old will come back, bro.
The old dog Roach is still there.
Anyways, we've got what one more thing to cover. For
Ireland being dismantled by Afghanistan.
bro, Ireland cannot stand in front of Afghanistan. What is going on?
No, let's start with the first ODI where it was a high-scoring game. Ireland put on a bit of a fight, but once again, it's what Harry Tector having his fifth ODI century in a losing cause. A bit concerning.
You wanna?
concerning.
Is it funny? Would it be too much to say he only scores when they lose? uh, so the thing is, with Ireland, they'll have a really good game, but then they can't back it up like with that same impact that they have that game, right? Like that first ODI, they were so close, but then didn't cross the line. They lost by 35 runs, and when you look at the scorecard, it looks like, oh, that's a big margin. But to consider how that match actually went, and it was a really good match. Take nothing away because what Gurbaz got 100, Tector got 100, very well competitive match, and the score line doesn't really reflect how the match completely went. Um, but then you have one rain out, and then all of a sudden it seems like they came against that, and that new kid Karoti or something.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my,
know, I had a feeling he's gonna be picked in one of the games
why?
because in game one, he took a stunning catch diving forward. I think it was to
Yes.
dismiss Lorcan Tucker, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was a crazy catch.
Hmm.
So, I had a feeling that he's gonna be picked just on the basis of his commitment in either game two or three, and he was picked for game three. And he performed. He took 4 wickets.
Looking at one of the biggest positives for Afghanistan, Gurbaz finally amongst the runs, a century and a half century in this series, basically.
Bro, Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadran, that opening partnership is deadly. When it gets going, you can see how deadly it is. And with Gurbaz, I think he needs to start putting these performances like one after another. So, in 5 games, if he has 3 good games out of 5 games, I would say that's a very good return. And that's the kind of return he needs to start having because Afghanistan banks on him massively. And their whole batting lineup is structured around having those two guys deliver as openers. So, um, yeah, I think Gurbaz is coming of age, and to see him score runs like that in that first ODI was really good. Um, will be interesting to see how it does in the World Cup, but
And
good
even the
sign,
IPL before that.
and even the IPL before. Yeah, yeah,
Even with their, what do you call it, proper batsmen like Ramat Shah and Shahidi not performing that much, I think Afghanistan's other batters stepped up quite nicely to score big runs. So this shows the depth that they have, the backup that they have.
But Chaidi had a really good series this time.
Yeah, Rahmat did not.
Rahmat
So
did not. No.
yeah,
Shahidi had a really good series and captain's knock in the first game, in the second game as well. Different strike rates, but I think the way he played in the first game kind of shows that he has that game in him where he can raise the tempo, he can play aggressively when required, and that's a very good thing. That's a very important thing for him to have in the ODI setup. Coming into the Afghan bowlers now, absolutely remarkable series for them overall if we consider both the ODIs.
yeah. I think they have a few. They have a couple of new options in their bowling lineup, which definitely helps. Um, they need to sort out something with the names of these Afghanistan youngsters having Allah's name in their name. I don't know what's going on there. Something's wrong there. Because this is not the first one. There's been a one before that in the 2022 Under 19 World Cup. So, but yeah, I mean, in serious talks, Naveed Zadran was really good. Um, Ghaznfar, Karoti, Nabi doing what he does best always. So yeah, didn't really feel the gap of not having Rashid there, which is which is good science because that
Mujib
shows that
also.
and Mujib, yeah, because it shows they're able to live without them, and Man, tell me how Azmatullah Omarza is betting like number three now. That's crazy. The World Cup bro was betting seven, then five. Now he's betting three. Like
He never should have batted seven, but then he showed promise. He's a
yeah,
like number four,
four,
five.
five.
Yeah,
Yeah,
4-5.
yeah. But yeah, Ramat Shah is losing a spot to Omarzai.
No.
Bro, Ramat Shah was betting at five. I was like, that's crazy. What the
Oh,
hell?
losing his spot in the lineup, like
Yeah,
for batting order. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I thought you were saying in the whole
No,
11.
no, no. How they gonna drop Ramat Shah now?
Exactly.
Nah, 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 nah. That's not happening. Uh, yeah.
But I think just to wrap up this series, both teams need to work on avoiding more batting collapses. I mean, we saw one from Afghanistan today, basically, where they lost what 5 wickets within a
Yeah,
space of 20. I want to say 27 runs,
yeah,
and
yeah.
a horrendous, absolutely terrible one from Ireland, where they lost their 9 wickets within a space of nothing.
Yeah, it feels like with associate teams, or even actually Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, West Indies do the same. Uh, these batting collapses are a result of people not knowing how to respond to situation, and it seems like it has become a theme in international cricket where when you're under pressure, everyone tries to employ this get out or hit out kind of a tactic, and start playing across the line, start premeditating where they're getting lbw on premeditation, or they're skying one and just leaving the crease. They just like, I think for guys like Tector, Tucker, Curtis Camphor, it's not a good sign if you give your wicket away or you throw your wicket away, um, or even Ramat Shah, Nabi, Omer Zai, Shahidi. These are good, capable batters, and you want them to show their skills. So, like you said, they need to start applying themselves a little more and avoiding these collapses.
Shakar, overall, a good series for these two teams. I mean, it's important that they get as much game time as possible.
Yeah, it was good to see a couple of games. Sadly, the second one was rained out. But yeah, Ireland will look to improve on the areas, like especially the collapse that you're talking about. Like the third ODI, they had a decent start. Sterling got going, but then the others just like capitulated, like gone, collapsed in heap. So yeah, but Tucker and what do you call it, Tector, their partnership would have raised expectations for the third ODI. Sadly, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, future looks good. Ireland have some good young guys coming in, so it's good. And Afghanistan, we know they have a very good pipeline of young players always coming in. So it's just about being consistent at where they are. But looks good. Both teams look good.
They don't have a test in this series, right? Oh, I
Oh, they
mean,
did.
they
They've
already
already
played the
played.
test. Sorry, they already played the test series.
Mm.
Yeah, they have the T20Is coming up. Yeah, yeah.
Last thoughts, Farzin, Mohammad Nabi, again, the man who refuses to age.
The the veteran. Well, there's two veterans in world cricket now who are doing it up day in and day out, Nabi and Riyadh. So, as long as they keep doing this,
The
it's good.
disrespect to Angelo Matthews is crazy. No, no, but to be fair,
But
Matthews is younger than them,
yeah,
so I
yeah,
guess he's in
that's
that
right.
Shakib category.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
that I
It's,
said that,
it's
but
not in the 40, in the 40,
yeah,
exactly.
him, Shakib, Rohit are in the same
And the
category.
same. Yeah. But no, I think to see Nabi still committed to playing for Afghanistan, where he could potentially play any league he wanted to at any time, just to see that commitment to Afghanistan cricket. He's the one that brought them from Division 5 all the way up here. He's been through that journey. So uh, he's enjoying that. I guess, claim to fame now, where he's their big player, he's their big star. So it's good to see that, and it really helps that they have got a really good pipeline. They've got a really good system now in place that supports him. Because if Karote did not get 4 wickets, his 5 for would not have meant much, maybe, or maybe he would not have gotten 5 for at all. Um, because, like we saw in the middle, they were feeling that gap of not having Rashid and Mujib there. So, um, yeah, I think you know Afghanistan, unfortunately, they do have to give young players exposure to international cricket early. So you see 16, 17, 18, 19 year olds playing earlier than you would see in other countries. But if it works out, it works out. And it seems like Ghaznfar is also Mr. Carom Ball and this, that. So it's not bad. Afghanistan spinners need to stop bowling their all 6 deliveries in the same over. Like, that's the thing they need to stop, because everyone literally, like, all right, so first over, okay, 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 so this happens, all right, mental math, all right, next over, all right, come bro, now let me see, what do you do?
Boys,
Boys, yeah, yeah, those are your boys. Watch the space, remember the name, everything.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. It's been a fun discussion. And I guess we hope to return again next week, just before the IPL. That's pretty much going to be the last non IPL JaaTaa that we're going to
Yeah,
get.
yeah.
and then the JaaTaa of IPL takes
JaaTaa,
over.
man. All right, boys, stay tuned.